While the black-haired man walks through the dark alleyway, two men sitting on the stairs exchange crude remarks after one expresses disgust at being splashed, eventually suggesting they go find some easy money.
Walking through the grime-covered neighborhood, the man reflects on the constant noise and filth surrounding his studio apartment complex.
Arriving at his residence, he stands before a simple metal door and notes that his home is just a tiny rooftop room.
Inside, the black-haired man, identified as 25-year-old Bong Joo-hyuk, laments having instant ramen for dinner again, while his profile reveals he works 3 different part-time jobs. As steam rises from his simple meal, he acknowledges that debt is the reason he cannot save money despite his hard work.
Taking a bite of his noodles, he admits that without special skills, his future looks bleak. A bright blue light suddenly illuminates the room as a system window appears, announcing that Bong Joo-hyuk has awakened.
Bong Joo-hyuk continues his simple meal.
Startled by the sudden notification, Bong Joo-hyuk reacts with pain and frustration as the hot noodles burn him while he shouts about how much the window frightened him.
Sweating and shocked, the black-haired man questions if he has actually awakened.
He envisions gold coins filling his hands as he considers how awakening is seen by some as a life-changing blessing. The scene shifts as he realizes that to enjoy such a blessing, one must first survive the extreme dangers of entering the tower. He imagines the various gruesome ways he could perish, including being torn apart by monsters, dying from extreme temperatures, or being poisoned. A miniature version of the man points to a chalkboard listing miserable ways to die, jokingly wishing he had just stuck to his part-time jobs while emphasizing the need for safety.
Bong Joo-hyuk describes his cautious nature, explaining how he avoids conflict and dangerous construction sites, identifying himself as a typical wimp. He sets his chopsticks down and wonders if the awakening was just a hallucination brought on by exhaustion.
With a tentative gesture, he calls out for his status window.
A holographic interface materializes, confirming Bong Joo-hyuk's name, his level, and his trait as a summoner.
He touches the glowing screen and realizes the situation is real, questioning what his summoning ability entails. Silhouettes of various warriors and healers illustrate the diverse range of traits granted to awakened individuals. Diverse creatures like spirits, golems, and magical beasts represent the standard summons available to those with his trait. His heart pounds with excitement as he wonders what he will summon and decides to try out his new skill to look cool. Reaching out with a dramatic pose, Bong Joo-hyuk commands a summon to appear. He looks sheepish as he tries to activate the random summon feature. A confused expression crosses his face. He scratches his head and remembers that player skills are only supposed to be valid inside the tower. The scene shifts to explain that abilities are strictly bound to the tower's interior and cannot manifest elsewhere. Looking toward his computer, he scolds himself for forgetting such common knowledge. He turns his back, certain that no skill could be cast in his room, when a sudden, quick chime rings out. A blue notification confirms that a random summon is beginning. Bong Joo-hyuk's eye glows with a purple hue as he reacts with utter confusion. Swirling violet energy manifests in front of his bedroom door. From the pillar of light, a man with long reddish-brown hair in fantasy-style armor appears. Bong Joo-hyuk gapes in disbelief, unable to understand how the skill worked in his home. The newcomer salutes cheerfully and confirms he is a human, leaving Bong Joo-hyuk speechless. The black-haired man remains baffled by the successful summon and the fact that he pulled a human instead of a typical beast. The red-haired man's nose twitches as he catches a scent in the air. He lunges toward the table with delight, asking if he can have a bite of the ramen. As the red-haired man blows on the noodles, Bong Joo-hyuk realizes he has summoned someone who only cares about food. The man slurps the noodles greedily, A sudden, loud slurp sounds as the red-haired man comments on the spicy flavor, while Bong Joo-hyuk notes that he is actually eating a mild udon. Bong Joo-hyuk stares intensely, trying to process the impossibility of a human summon appearing outside the tower.
A window details the different grades of summons, from rare to legendary, leading Bong Joo-hyuk to compare it to a gacha game.
A new notification introduces the 3 principles that all summoned beings must follow.
The system clarifies that summons prioritize protecting the summoner, obey all commands, and place life-saving above all else. Bong Joo-hyuk realizes that having a servant bound by absolute obedience could be very beneficial. The red-haired man continues to devour the food, lifting the pot to drink every last drop of broth. The catalog identifies the summon as John Cossack, an SR-grade human assassin with specific manifestation and cooldown times. Overwhelmed by a sudden influx of information about John Cossack's violent history as a deranged assassin, Bong Joo-hyuk clutches his head in pain. Bong Joo-hyuk cries out in surprise as he is suddenly pulled into a blinding, swirling vortex of light.
The black-haired man experiences a dizzying descent as he sees a vision of the red-haired man in a fortress.
Falling through the void, Bong Joo-hyuk cries out in shock while John Cossack charges into battle. Disoriented, the black-haired man witnesses the red-haired man single-handedly confronting a group of soldiers. He questions if he is seeing the past of his summon as the red-haired man ruthlessly cuts down his enemies. Horrified, Bong Joo-hyuk watches as the red-haired man cheerfully ties red ribbons on severed heads like gifts, questioning his sanity. The red-haired man wears a chillingly calm expression.
A narration describes how his life ended through one critical failure.
Moving through the night, the assassin approaches a sleeping target as the narration explains his final mission. The target is revealed as the Empire's greatest swordmaster, who retaliates and strikes the assassin down. He realizes these are the final memories of his summoned being. The red-haired man startles the black-haired man by leaning in close and asking about his thoughts. Terrified, Bong Joo-hyuk scrambles away while the red-haired man apologizes and asks for his commands. He tries to calm his racing heart by remembering that the summon is bound by absolute obedience. The black-haired man takes a long, deep breath to steady himself. Testing his authority, he orders John Cossack to clean the kitchen and table, which the assassin does with blinding speed. He is amazed by the man's speed and lack of complaints. He marvels at the realization that the summon truly does whatever he is told. He asks if there are limits to the requests, but the red-haired man confirms his absolute loyalty to his summoner. The red-haired man smiles broadly while scrubbing the table. The black-haired man decides to test the limits of obedience by commanding the man to bark. Without hesitation, the red-haired man closes his eyes and lets out a bark. A sudden, sharp thud sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk immediately regrets his petty command. He worries about offending the man's pride, but John Cossack happily continues to act like a dog. Satisfied, the black-haired man gives a thumbs up and confirms the obedience is real. A series of loud, heavy thuds echo through the room as someone bangs on the door. Realizing it is the day to pay his debt's interest, the black-haired man frantically tells his summon to get up. A narration box explains that he borrowed 10 million won. Recalling his family's medical and tuition emergencies, he explains why he took the loan despite the massive interest. He admits it was a desperate choice, but one he would repeat to save his family. As the demands from the door grow louder, he tells John Cossack to prepare for trouble. The red-haired man offers to bring him the head of the person outside, but Bong Joo-hyuk quickly declines. He shoves the assassin into the bathroom, ordering him to remain hidden and absolutely silent until told otherwise. A blond man with gold teeth enters and aggressively grabs Bong Joo-hyuk, mocking him for the late payment. The loan shark suggests selling a kidney to make the payments easier. He threatens the black-haired man's younger brother as well,
causing Bong Joo-hyuk to seethe with silent rage.
Noticing the glare, the loan shark taunts him and asks if he plans to fight back.
Bong Joo-hyuk forces a submissive laugh and denies having any such thoughts.
With a final threat, the loan shark leaves and slams the door with a loud bang.
A faint creak sounds as the red-haired man emerges from the bathroom, having obeyed the order to hide perfectly.
Feeling overwhelmed by his debt and his new awakening, he considers if climbing the tower is his only option.
The red-haired man asks for his next order while Bong Joo-hyuk offers to release him.
John Cossack asks to watch TV, which the black-haired man allows despite his confusion.
As his summon watches dramas, the black-haired man lies in bed and reflects on the situation.
He finds the presence of the summoned being surprisingly pleasant. He realizes that after working alone for so long, having someone else there is comforting.
The black-haired man drifts off into a deep sleep.
Time passes in silence throughout the night.
His phone alarm rings at 8 in the morning. Waking up, he wonders if the red-haired man was released from the summon while he slept.
A chime sounds as a system window confirms that John Cossack's manifestation time has expired. Bong Joo-hyuk decides to ignore his awakening and head to work. A news report details a murder at a local loan office. He recognizes the name of the loan company. A sudden, sharp thud sounds as he drops his toothbrush. He is horrified by the news of the ribbon-decorated victims.
He realizes his summon is responsible for the gruesome murders.
He panics at the thought of summoning a psychopathic murderer. The manhwa series title card materializes. News footage shows the chaotic crime scene at the office. Victims were found with severed heads and red ribbons. He realizes his life is in serious jeopardy. Terrifying sweat pours down his face as panic sets in. He hears a sudden, polite call for his attention. He trembles with fear while working his part-time job. He envisions a decapitated body demanding to be checked out. The nightmare vision taunts him to finish the transaction. A sudden, loud gasp sounds as he screams in terror. He realizes a normal customer was merely standing there. He frantically apologizes and offers to ring her up. Overwhelmed, he decides to take a leave from work. A long, weary sigh escapes his lips. He feels isolated while walking through the crowded city. Darkness falls completely over the urban skyline. A system window confirms the summon is a deranged assassin. He remains terrified despite being the official summoner. He commands a targeted summon for the red-haired assassin. A sudden, sharp chime sounds as his eye glows. The system requests a satisfaction rating for the summon. He understands the purpose of the satisfaction catalog. He initially considers giving the assassin a 1-star rating. He admits that a low rating is his preference. He hesitates to be so cruel with his feedback. A quick, clear chime sounds as he sets the rating. Remembering his mother's job, he decides on 3 stars. John Cossack appears in a burst of light and salutes. He wonders how an innocent-looking man could be a killer. He asks if the assassin killed the loan shark. The red-haired man cheerfully confirms he handled the threat. A heavy, sudden thud sounds as he realizes the truth. His stomach turns as his heart begins to race. He tries to reassure himself that he is safe. The assassin explains how he tracked the targets with magic. He recognizes the lethal efficiency of the assassin's skill. He protests the murders he never actually ordered. He recalls the 3rd clause of the summon principles. The system explains that protection overrides all other commands. The assassin confirms he would ignore a command to self-harm. He argues that the assassin's judgment was purely arbitrary.
The red-haired man justifies his violence as a safety measure.
Bong Joo-hyuk screams at the man's psychopathic logic. Bong Joo-hyuk apologizes, but John Cossack reassures him that he is used to such reactions. He worries that the situation is becoming dangerous. Fear is evident on Bong Joo-hyuk's sweating face. Bong Joo-hyuk imagines bumping into a thug who aggressively threatens to rip his eyeballs out. He envisions John Cossack taking the threat literally and decapitating the man as a precaution. A gruesome visual depicts the severed head resting in a pool of dark blood. Bong Joo-hyuk bites his thumb in terror, while John Cossack mutters about the importance of ribbons. John Cossack suddenly kneels to apologize, prompting Bong Joo-hyuk to tell him to stand up. Bong Joo-hyuk explains that murder is unnecessary and could put him in a very difficult situation. John Cossack argues that no one will know, but Bong Joo-hyuk asks if he will do it again, and when the assassin cannot guarantee he won't, the summoner demands he promise to stop unless there is literally a blade at his throat. Bong Joo-hyuk warns against killing people based on speculation alone, and John Cossack salutes while promising to assess situations better from now on. Bong Joo-hyuk notes the confidence in the answer and tells the assassin he can return now. John Cossack pauses in the kitchen to ask his summoner a final question. A simple question asks if he intends to climb the tower. Bong Joo-hyuk stares forward in deep, silent contemplation. Bong Joo-hyuk acknowledges that climbing the tower is definitely the opportunity of a lifetime. He admits his fear while envisioning a massive monster standing before the tower. A system window emphasizes the risk of death in the tower. Bong Joo-hyuk asks if there were previous summoners who called for him, and John Cossack confirms that there were. John Cossack looks nostalgic as he describes his previous summoners as truly strong and brave. Bong Joo-hyuk admits he feels embarrassed and cowardly compared to those who risk their lives to save the world with their abilities. Bong Joo-hyuk calls himself a pathetic coward while John Cossack listens in silence. John Cossack bursts into bright, cheerful laughter, shocking his summoner. John Cossack declares that the greatest virtue for any summoner is prioritizing safety first. John Cossack explains that being brave is poison because if a summoner dies, the summons can no longer manifest, leading Bong Joo-hyuk to realize how the system works. John Cossack offers to handle all the dangerous work himself. John Cossack encourages Bong Joo-hyuk to focus solely on protecting himself and living a long life. Unable to sleep, Bong Joo-hyuk agonizes over the decision to enter the tower or not. Bong Joo-hyuk tries to convince himself to stay away from the tower and be grateful the loan sharks are gone. Standing outside, Bong Joo-hyuk resolves to continue doing safe, ordinary work. A sudden, quick crack sounds as his back gives out. On a phone call, Bong Joo-hyuk asks about hospital transfers and rehabilitation progress. Bong Joo-hyuk is shocked to hear his mother was fired, but he tells his family not to worry after they mention calling because he hadn't been in touch. Bong Joo-hyuk promises to visit and eat together soon before ending the call. He stares at his phone in heavy, dejected silence. A sudden, heavy thud sounds as he grabs a baseball bat and construction gear. Bong Joo-hyuk prepares his full set of safety management equipment. Bong Joo-hyuk decides to scout only the first floor and retreat if things get dangerous, noting he is free from his part-time jobs and prepares to summon. Bong Joo-hyuk pauses, considering whether he should try summoning someone other than the deranged assassin. He wonders if a legendary grade summon might appear if he tries again. A sudden, sharp chime sounds as a system window reveals a month-long cooldown for random summons, shocking Bong Joo-hyuk. John Cossack appears in a flash of light and salutes, thanking Bong Joo-hyuk for the 5-star rating and asking for orders. John Cossack stands ready to serve while Bong Joo-hyuk welcomes him back, secretly noting the assassin misunderstood his earlier comment. Bong Joo-hyuk announces they are entering the tower, and John Cossack praises his bravery before immediately calling him wise for wanting to retreat if it's dangerous. John Cossack tells him to toss the crude tools and promises to be his loyal hunting dog and tool. John Cossack promises to drive safely and handle every task within the tower, so his summoner doesn't have to lift a finger. A sudden, rhythmic snap sounds as John Cossack salutes his summoner. A system window asks for confirmation to enter the first floor of the Black Tower.
Bong Joo-hyuk asks if they should go, and John Cossack enthusiastically accepts the prompt. A sudden, clear chime sounds as they officially enter the first floor of the Black Tower of South Korea.
A sudden, loud scream sounds as the digital vortex pulls Bong Joo-hyuk and John Cossack inside. They fall through a vast, glowing digital landscape inside the tower.
Bong Joo-hyuk panics while falling through the empty void. A sudden, sharp swoosh sounds as they land within the desolate landscape of the first floor. Bong Joo-hyuk notes the first floor is a complete wasteland. He suddenly feels nauseous from the transport. A sudden, wet blear sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk vomits while John Cossack reassures him he will adopt quickly. John Cossack announces he is moving beyond the Saeksan. John Cossack leads the way into the barren wilderness. A sudden, clear chime sounds as a system notification confirms his physical abilities are enhanced. Bong Joo-hyuk feels surprisingly strong even at his low level. The system assigns a mission to defeat 5 maggots while John Cossack points them out. He notes the first floor is intended for testing skills. Research confirms the monsters have low attack power but very tough skin. He recalls that other players struggle to catch even one. He decides to attempt catching a monster himself. Bong Joo-hyuk approaches a maggot while John Cossack looks on in surprise. He stands directly before the massive, segmented creature. He asks John Cossack to wait a moment. A sudden, wet gurgle sounds as the maggot towers over him. A sudden, sharp screech sounds as the creature bellows at him. Terrified sweat pours down Bong Joo-hyuk's face. John Cossack gives a cheerful thumbs up. He praises Bong Joo-hyuk's decision to stay back. John Cossack dashes forward with lethal speed toward his target. A sudden, heavy smash sounds as the maggot is obliterated. John Cossack effortlessly slaughters multiple monsters at once. The assassin moves with fluid, graceful precision. A sudden, loud bang sounds as he fires energy projectiles. John Cossack stands calm among the carnage of severed monsters. He activates his powerful blade explosion skill. Multiple explosions erupt as the remaining monsters are destroyed. Bong Joo-hyuk stares in complete, stunned awe. He is amazed by the assassin's incredible speed. The monster remains dissolve into glowing digital fragments. A sudden, clear chime sounds as he achieves an S-clear rating and levels up. Bong Joo-hyuk floats happily in a moment of pure joy. Narrative text suggests he is unaware of the consequences. A sudden, sharp chime sounds as players across the city receive mysterious notifications. A purple-haired man pauses in surprise at his screen. The same notice appears for everyone simultaneously. A sudden, clear chime sounds as every player in South Korea receives the same announcement. A sudden, bright flash sounds as they are teleported back to the concluding kitchen. Bong Joo-hyuk is shocked that the entire mission only took 5 minutes. John Cossack cheerfully praises his summoner for his hard work. Bong Joo-hyuk admits he did nothing, but the assassin insists his passive safety was a success. He examines his rewards of a crystal and an emblem. Bong Joo-hyuk marvels at the glowing magic crystal in his hand. He notes that magic crystals are valuable resources in the modern economy. He reflects on the history of the Black Towers. Phone screen vlogs detail various tower strategies. Narrative text notes that most ordinary people know basic common knowledge about the tower. He examines a sparkling badge in confusion. But platinum badge? I've never even heard of something like this. Bong Joo-hyuk celebrates his quick earnings. Anyway, I earned 50,000 won in just 3 minutes. I'll watch some dramas. A sudden, quick sniff sounds as someone smells the delicious spread of food. Dialogue appears over a patterned background. Is it spicy pork feet? No, I ordered regular pork feet since you said you can't handle spicy food. Bong Joo-hyuk watches John Cossack carefully sniff the food. He's seriously weak with spice.
A sudden, wet munch sounds as John Cossack eats enthusiastically. Well, then let's eat. Thank you for your kindness again. No, it's hardly a kindness.
Two speech bubbles exchange words. But, Mr. Cossack. Yes, sir.
Bong Joo-hyuk asks if the assassin always uses formal sentence endings. John explains it is an old habit from his previous summoner.
Bong Joo-hyuk compares the habit to an ex-boyfriend's influence.
Bong Joo-hyuk bursts into a sudden, bright laugh. John Cossack offers to fix his speech, while the boy realizes he is certain now. John Cossack eats happily while Bong Joo-hyuk looks at a safety helmet. It's not dangerous at all. Bong Joo-hyuk stares ahead with resolve. It's doable. Bong Joo-hyuk tapes a daily routine chart to the wall.
The chart shows him sleeping and working multiple jobs. Instead, I come home and conquer the tower with John Cossack. It's a perfect plan.
John Cossack salutes, thrilled by his 5-star rating. Bong Joo-hyuk tells him he would give 10 stars if possible. Bong Joo-hyuk asks, but is the satisfaction rating that important?
John explains that better ratings provide benefits like manifestation time, grade increases, and more summon calls.
A sudden, sharp flash sounds as they teleport into the tower.
A sudden, loud rumble sounds as a mission window appears. Floor 2 mission. Defeat 10 crafty fatty maggots. Time limit 2 hours. Bong Joo-hyuk notes they are faster than expected.
Bong Joo-hyuk asks what he should do on the second floor. John Cossack tells him he won't have time for that. John Cossack promises a 3-minute clear. A sudden, loud swoosh sounds as John Cossack leaps through the air. I'll finish quickly and escort you home.
Bong Joo-hyuk shouts, "Should we have chicken today? With beer, too."
A sudden, rhythmic snap sounds as John Cossack shouts, "Thank you," while attacking. A sudden, heavy bang sounds as the maggots are obliterated. A sudden, clear chime sounds as a success window appears. This is crazy, just crazy. You have succeeded in the Floor 2 mission. Your level has increased. Reward, Magic Crystal 200G. A system notification announces an S clear rating for Floor 2 and awards a Platinum badge. Bong Joo-hyuk marvels at the floating rewards. S again? Is it okay for it to be this easy? It's way too fast. I could go in and come out before my morning part-time job. Floor 3 mission. Defeat 10 ice-cold fatty maggots. Bong Joo-hyuk poses while John Cossack gives a thumbs up and cheers. Great landing! A sudden, clear chime sounds as he succeeds in the Floor 3 mission and receives a 300-gram magic crystal.
A montage shows Floor 3 and Floor 4 cleared with S ratings.
A system window confirms success on Floor 5. Chibi versions of the duo exchange a high five.
A sudden, clear chime sounds as a notification appears. You have collected 5 S-grade Platinum badges. Special privilege granted. Bong Joo-hyuk reacts in surprise. A system window reveals the special privilege is an Awakening Trait Enhancement. A system window explains the privilege effect has increased the number of simultaneous summons to 2. Bong Joo-hyuk checks his stats window. Oh, 2 simultaneous summons. He wonders about the new possibility. I can bring one more person with me, when John Cossack alone is already dominating everything. Multiple badges float as he celebrates. Clear rewards. This is amazing. Bong Joo-hyuk runs through a finish line. There might be long battles ahead, but this will make things much safer. Checking his screen, he notes the random summon cooldown has over 20 days left. Let's hang in there and be careful until then. They resolve to climb the 6th floor tomorrow. Then, in 20 days, the 3 of us... No, while I'm coasting, the 2 of them will keep breaking through with S ratings. Let's keep climbing. The scene shifts to the Korea Awakened Management Agency in Seoul. Staff sit in a quiet agency office. Team leader John Kwang-il thinks about the timing of the notices. When will it ring today? Morning or evening? Maybe late at night. Manager Lee Min-ah leans in. You're thinking about the notice, aren't you? A sudden, sharp startle sounds as John Kwang-il jumps. Whoa, Manager Lee, I told you to stop sneaking up on people. I can't help being curious.
Lee Min-ah reports a new S Floor 6 clear. Narrative text notes that global notices for the tower keep appearing recently.
John Guang-il analyzes the pattern. It's definitely one person. They're breaking through from floor 1 to floor 5 in order. Narrative text describes the mysterious player as someone with unprecedented talent, potentially clearing every floor with an S grade.
A sudden, heavy thud sounds as the agency director slams his hand onto the desk in frustration. Park Kyung-soo, the awakened management agency director, explains to his team that they've just discovered S clears trigger global notices, a tier far above Korea's previous A-grade record. He warns that secret kidnappings are occurring globally to secure top talent. As a map of South Korea glows brightly with radiating arrows, he emphasizes the need to secure this mystery player before another country takes them. Park Kyung-soo's expression turns grim as he orders his staff to find this player immediately. He commands his team to monitor every single newly registered player with extreme scrutiny. A peaceful morning sun rises over the city, shifting the scene 2 days into the future. A sudden, rhythmic splash sounds as the reddish-brown-haired assassin cheerfully washes dishes while noting they are clearing 1 floor daily without any trouble. Bong Joo-hyuk checks his schedule as the assassin continues cleaning, agreeing that everything is going smoothly during the beginner phase up to the 10th floor. The duo walks through a foggy, sun-dappled forest inside the tower. A mission notification tasks them with defeating 10 red thorn frog warriors on the 8th floor as they face the green monsters. A sudden, wet slap sounds as a frog warrior launches its long, purple tongue forward.
A sudden, sharp ring sounds as John Cossack's blade glows with intense blue energy.
A sudden, wet squelch sounds as the assassin carves through several frog warriors at once, spraying green blood. Success windows announce his victory on the 8th floor, awarding him a level up, magic crystals, healing potions, and another platinum badge for an S rating.
Back at the house, John Cossack praises his summoner's hard work, but Bong Joo-hyuk admits he did nothing while the assassin insists just entering the tower is the greatest challenge.
Bong Joo-hyuk wonders if he should reward John Cossack for another fast clear, though the assassin warns that the latter half of the 10th floor will be difficult. Bong Joo-hyuk pulls a 50,000 won bill from his wallet, suggesting the assassin use his remaining manifestation time to go outside and have fun.
A sudden, quick snap sounds as the reddish-brown-haired assassin vigorously refuses the money, insisting he is offering his service with a generous heart.
John Cossack declares he won't leave Bong Joo-hyuk's side and would rather watch television at home, leading the boy to realize absolute obedience has its limits.
A sudden, loud cluck sounds as John Cossack dons a chicken mascot head and enthusiastically agrees when Bong Joo-hyuk suggests ordering chicken for dinner.
Bong Joo-hyuk orders honey cheese butter sweet chicken over the phone while glancing at his pile of tower rewards. He examines a glowing red bottle, deciding he can give the tower-only healing potions to John Cossack.
A sudden light rattle sounds as he looks at his collection of magic crystals, calculating that the 3.6 kilograms in his inventory are worth nearly 2 million won.
Bong Joo-hyuk exhales as he changes clothes, thinking about his desire to quit his mundane part-time jobs.
A sudden, sharp crack sounds as a flashback shows John Cossack obliterating jungle corpse flowers on the 9th floor, earning yet another S-clear reward.
Bong Joo-hyuk toasts with a glass of champagne, thinking about how reassuring his assassin is while humorously forgetting the man's violent past.
A sudden, clear chime sounds as a system notice sets John Cossack's satisfaction to 5 stars and increases his manifestation time by 1 hour.
The reddish-brown-haired assassin beams while making a heart gesture with his hands, telling his summoner to just trust him.
A sudden, clear chime sounds as notifications announce their entry into the 10th floor, enhancing Bong Joo-hyuk's physical abilities and unlocking his skills.
They stand before a glowing hexagonal energy barrier in the forest as Bong Joo-hyuk feels his body readjusting to the tower's power. A sudden, heavy pulse sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk's eyes glow with a fierce purple light, while strength and magical power surge through his core. Narrated text compares the boy to a wild, untamable stallion as a dark horse with glowing eyes looms in his mind. The boy, now visually depicted as a man with a dark horse's head, rests a hand on the assassin's shoulder and offers to help with the combat. John Cossack panics, begging his summoner not to risk even a scratch, but the horse-headed boy insists he is now a wild stallion, while the assassin argues that praise is enough support. A sudden, heavy thrum sounds as the horse-headed Bong Joo-hyuk becomes determined, insisting that they must fight together this time. A sudden, loud hiss sounds as the massive, multifaceted eye of a giant insect watches them from the shadows. A sudden, deafening screech sounds as a gargantuan green mantis monster towers over the duo, its scythe-like limbs ready to strike. Bong Joo-hyuk stares in utter disbelief at the scale of the 10th floor monster. Cold sweat pours down his face as he wonders how other players could possibly defeat such a terrifying creature. The boy nervously jokes that it would be undignified for two of them to gang up on one bug, while the assassin dejectedly claims his own dignity is hurt. A sudden, sharp screech sounds as the mantis monster prepares to lunge. Bong Joo-hyuk suddenly shifts to a chibi form, waving pom-poms and cheering for the assassin to go get them. A sudden, heavy crash sounds as the mantis brings its massive blades down. A sudden, sharp swoosh sounds as John Cossack leaps through the air, his blade carving into the monster's leg. The assassin's eyes glow with cold blue light as he focuses on his target with lethal intent. A sudden, loud zing sounds as a web of blue energy slashes through the air, dissecting the giant mantis into countless fragments. A sudden, clear chime sounds as the system confirms success on the 10th floor mission and rewards him with a large magic crystal and a level up. A sudden, sharp chime sounds as he receives his S-Clear rating and another platinum badge while John Cossack's blades spin in the background. A sudden, clear chime sounds as the mission concludes, granting access to the 11th floor and beginning their exit from the tower. 1 kilogram of magic crystals is added, bringing the total to 5.5 kilograms. Bong Joo-hyuk receives another platinum badge for his recent clearing performance. A notification confirms he has earned special privileges after accumulating 10 platinum badges. A sudden, rhythmic thump sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk eagerly anticipates the reveal of his new ability. The system window lists powerful assassin skills available for him to copy. Bong Joo-hyuk looks at the options while his reddish-brown-haired assassin waits in the background. John Cossack points upward while insisting that Shadow Step is the most essential skill to learn. The assassin explains that the skill is perfect for making a secret and quick escape if needed. Bong Joo-hyuk looks offended, questioning why his summon thinks he would ever run away to save himself. The system confirms that Bong Joo-hyuk has successfully acquired the Shadow Step skill. John Cossack explains that having fast feet is incredibly important during any combat situation. Bong Joo-hyuk maintains a very serious expression while the assassin praises the importance of footwork. A sudden, sharp zoom sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk tests his new high-speed movement skill inside his room. He collapses in exhaustion, complaining about the skill's lack of consistency, while the assassin agrees. A sudden rhythmic ring sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk nervously makes a phone call while swallowing hard. He introduces himself to the agency and reports that he has recently awakened as a player. A celebratory digital window appears to congratulate him on becoming a player. A sudden, loud fanfare sounds as the boy agrees to let government support staff visit his residence. Bong Joo-hyuk exhales deeply, reflecting on making the bravest decision of his 25 years of life. A sudden, rhythmic click sounds as a woman in a professional suit walks across a parking lot.
Inside the car, John Kwang-il and Lee Min-ah discuss the potential S++ record holder from Daegu.
A sudden, sharp snap sounds as Lee Min-ah notes another awakening application while closing her laptop.
Team leader John Kwang-il insists they must be active in finding this high-tier talent.
He is determined to bring the mysterious player to the elite team by offering maximum agency benefits.
A sudden, quick swish sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk frantically sweeps and tidies his small apartment.
A sudden, sharp knock sounds as the agency arrives, causing Bong Joo-hyuk to swallow nervously.
He greets the two visitors at the door and invites them into his small home.
John Kwang-il introduces manager Lee Min-ah as the boy offers a polite, nervous greeting.
A sudden, heavy thump sounds as Lee Min-ah leans in very close, making the boy's heart race.
She stares directly into his eyes and mentions the S++ rank record.
The woman repeats the high rank while Bong Joo-hyuk stands shocked by her sudden accusation. A sudden, loud shout sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk reacts with pure surprise to the manager's words.
A sudden, rhythmic thump sounds as the boy panics internally, wondering how she discovered his secret identity.
He resolves to act natural and deny any involvement with the high-rank clears for now.
A sudden, mechanical creak sounds as the boy offers a stiff, robot-like denial with forced laughter.
A sudden, mechanical creak sounds as Lee Min-ah identifies his awkward behavior as a classic lying signal.
A sudden, sharp chop sounds as John Kwang-il strikes Lee Min-ah for probing the player too aggressively.
John Kwang-il apologizes for being rude, while the boy realizes the manager was just testing him.
A mascot named Tabi introduces itself as the guide for Korea's mysterious Black Tower. The narrator explains that the massive black towers appeared globally 20 years ago, defying all science.
A sudden, loud boom sounds as helicopters explode against the tower's impassable and mysterious invisible barrier.
Tabi explains that the tower is structured like a game that players must climb floor by floor.
Inside, players utilize powerful skills and crystals to upgrade their equipment and magical abilities.
A sudden, sharp chime sounds as system notices warn that failing to climb triggers a collapse countdown.
A sudden, massive crash sounds as the narrator recalls the tragic destruction of Mumbai due to tower collapse.
Tabi describes the global tower distribution, noting Korea is currently floor 65, while America is 66.
The narrator describes players as modern heroes who explore the unknown depths of the tower like pioneers.
The presentation emphasizes that awakened individuals represent the only hope for humanity's future survival.
A sudden magical pop sounds as Tabi encourages all awakened people to register as official players.
A sudden, sharp thud sounds as Jen Kwang-il concludes the video while Bong Joo-hyuk finds it embarrassing.
The black-haired boy shows his glowing blue magic crystals to the agency staff while explaining he has already cleared some floors. The man in the suit asks for confirmation of his awakening and which floor he has managed to reach. The boy simply replies, floor 10. The man and woman in suits react with shock to the boy's progress. A thought bubble notes that floor 10 is the same level as the recent record-breaking S++ clear. The dark-haired woman narrows her eyes suspiciously while thinking about the possibility of the boy being the mysterious top-tier player they are seeking.
A sudden, heavy gulp sounds as the woman asks the boy if he has heard about the global notices causing such a stir lately. The boy tries to act natural while claiming to have only heard rumors of the amazing S++ player. The man in the suit tells him there is no need to be so tense during their interview. A sudden, rhythmic twitch sounds as the boy's nervous smile and heavy sweating make the agency staff find his behavior incredibly suspicious. The man in the suit presents a holographic cylinder to explain the two player tracks, the elite climbing team and the general climbing team. He explains that general team players are like freelancers who manage their own schedules.
He contrasts this with the elite team, who work for the government and receive massive support and benefits in exchange for climbing higher floors.
He notes that the elite team receives personal protection because players are no different from normal people outside the tower and can be vulnerable to attacks.
The man mentions the high annual salary for the elite team. The boy worries about the public exposure if his true identity as the S++ record holder is discovered.
The boy imagines himself surrounded by flashing cameras and microphones as reporters ask if he is really a friendless wimp.
The boy panics as he realizes being in the spotlight is the last thing he ever wants for his life.
The man explains that elite team applicants must wear body cams to record their runs. The boy hesitates and offers a nervous reply as he realizes his secret would be exposed.
The boy firmly declares that he will not be applying for the elite team. The man in the suit reacts with utter confusion and shock to the rejection.
A sudden, firm squeeze sounds as the boy claims he is satisfied with the general team and insists he has no real talent for climbing the tower.
The boy offers a friendly smile and rubs the back of his head, claiming he is fine with taking reasonable rewards on reasonable floors.
The man begs the boy to reconsider his choice while the boy remains firm in his decision.
The dark-haired woman watches silently and thinks about another failed lead in their search for the top-tier player. She thinks about how some players just farm safely for easy gains. She decides that a coward who speaks so bluntly during screening does not qualify for their team. She believes the most important virtue for an elite player is the will to climb to the top of the tower.
A sudden, polite bow sounds as the man in the suit agrees to respect the boy's decision. The boy offers a relieved thank you.
The man asks the boy to enter the tower now as the final step to confirm his awakening. The boy agrees to show them.
The boy thinks it would be a waste of a daily entry not to clear a floor while he is inside the tower anyway. He wonders if the agency staff is still trying to probe him to find out if he is the S++ clearer. The boy warns that his clears usually take nearly 2 hours. The man in the suit says it is part of their job to wait for him to return. A sudden, light chuckle sounds as the woman smiles and tells the boy to take his time without feeling any pressure. A sudden, firm step sounds as the boy stands on his newspaper-covered floor and prepares to enter the tower.
The boy tells the visitors they can watch television and help themselves to drinks while he is away in the tower.
A sudden, bright flash sounds as a column of blue light envelops the room and transports the boy into the tower.
The man confirms the boy has successfully awakened and asks the woman for her professional opinion on his potential.
She describes the boy as extremely timid and predicts he will give up once he reaches floor 11 because his confidence is shrunk.
She explains that floor 11 tests a player's fear by making them face long-tailed burrow centipedes.
She notes that players must kill 100 of the disgusting creatures to pass the floor and wonders if a scared boy can do it. She is certain the boy will abandon the mission and retreat to the safe zone. The man notes that her predictions are usually very accurate.
A sudden, quick rub sounds as the man prepares to call the director and report the mission as a dead end. Inside the forest of the tower, a system window announces the targeted summon of John Cossack.
A sudden, sharp snap sounds as the reddish-brown-haired assassin salutes and enthusiastically thanks the boy for summoning him again.
The mission window lists the requirement to defeat 100 long-tailed burrow centipedes. The boy is horrified, but the assassin promises a 5-minute clear.
The boy tells the assassin to hunt at
a sudden, firm thumbs up sounds as the assassin understands the boy's desire to hide his identity from the agency staff.
The boy wears a devious, wide-toothed grin while thinking about finally breaking free from his high-rank reputation.
A sudden, wet splat sounds as the assassin's blade cleaves through a giant orange-shelled centipede.
A sudden, sharp swoosh sounds as the boy tells the assassin to slow down even more. The assassin agrees and continues his deliberate pace.
A sudden, rapid slash sounds as the assassin cuts through several centipedes while the boy notes the much slower hunting pace. A sudden, heavy thump sounds as the boy stands atop a giant insect, feeling confident that everything will go smoothly with their plan. A sudden, sharp gasp sounds as the boy's face pales in realization and he shouts an oath at a new threat.
The boy is suspended in mid-air above a swarm of centipedes as he realizes he is too frozen with fear to move or use his skills.
A sudden, sharp ping sounds as the assassin notices his summoner is in grave danger and needs immediate help. A sudden, loud roar sounds as the assassin rushes toward the swarm to protect the boy from the insects. A sudden, wet squelch sounds as green ichor splatters across the white background from a dying centipede. John Cossack slices through the monsters with his blades, declaring that the disgusting centipede bastards would not dare touch his master. A sudden, sharp ha sounds as the assassin continues his relentless slaughter of the orange-shelled insects. The boy cowers on the ground as several centipede legs loom over him, crying out for the assassin to wait. A sudden, heavy thoom sounds as centipede corpses pile up around the boy, who frantically shouts that the assassin is going too fast. The black-haired boy issues a direct order for the assassin to slow his tempo down as much as possible to avoid another record. A sudden, sharp swish sounds as John Cossack refuses the order, stating that his summoner's life is his top priority. The boy panics at the assassin's overzealous protection, fearing that trying too hard will trigger another global announcement. A sudden, sharp chime sounds as a system notice confirms an S++ clear rating for floor 11 and awards a platinum badge. The boy curses his luck while the assassin offers a quiet apology for his speed. A system window appears against a dark background, announcing the player's departure from Korea's Block Tower. Back in the apartment, manager Lee Min-ah notes that 5 minutes have passed and predicts the boy should be giving up any second now. A sudden, sharp chime sounds as a blue holographic window manifests in the room, surprising the agency staff. A sudden, bright flash sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk reappears in the room, enveloped in a pillar of blue magical energy. The agents stare in disbelief at the system notification, realizing the floor 11 S++ clear record appeared the exact moment the boy returned. The narrator notes that the timing of the record-breaking clear perfectly matched the player's reappearance. A sudden, low mumble sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk sighs and thinks he truly did not want to resort to his backup plan. Bong Joo-hyuk's eyes glow red as John Cossack manifests behind him with drawn daggers, declaring that the witnesses must be silenced. The agents freeze in terror as the boy repeats his intent to silence them, while a sudden, sharp gasp sounds from the panicked man. Bong Joo-hyuk orders the assassin to bind the two agents immediately to protect his secret identity. A sudden, sharp slash sounds as the assassin moves with blinding speed, leaving the silhouettes of the agents behind in the blue light. A sudden, shrill scream sounds as the boy's mental image takes a dark turn, showing his extreme fear of the consequences of discovery. A sudden, low hum sounds as shadows pool on the floor during the boy's intense internal struggle. A sudden, sharp shriek sounds as the boy panics internally, wondering who ever mentioned cutting throats in his plan. The boy's imagination shows the two agents as severed heads wearing ribbons while they mockingly call his name, prompting him to shout apologies in terror. A sudden, sharp gasp sounds as the real-life agents watch the boy's bizarre behavior with deep concern and confusion. A sudden, heavy gasp sounds as the boy collapses to the floor in a cold sweat. Manager Lee Min-ah asks if he is all right while he frantically apologizes. The boy realizes he was having intense victim delusions and tries to play it off by claiming he is fine. A sudden, low cough sounds as Jeon Gwang-il ignores the outburst and insists that their elite team absolutely needs the boy's talent. A sudden, nervous laugh sounds as the boy claims it must be a misunderstanding and suggests another player just happened to clear the floor at the same time. The man in the suit notes the timing was too perfect, but the boy insists it was just a coincidence and begs him to believe his denial. A sudden light slide sounds as Jian Guang-il agrees to drop the subject for now and prepares a contract since the awakening is confirmed. The boy reacts with shock when he sees the elite contract, reminding the man that he specifically asked for a general contract. A sudden, sharp snap sounds as the man points upward and claims this is the only ultra-elite contract of its kind in the entire industry. A sudden, heavy thud sounds as the contract for a special management target is presented with a dramatic flair. The presentation promises a 12 billion won salary, real estate, VIP protection, and full legal immunity. The narrator wonders if such nobility is even legal. A sudden, heavy gulp sounds as the boy realizes these are benefits only offered to the nation's top-ranked player.
The man tells him it includes every benefit the nation can offer, but the boy firmly shouts no.
The black-haired boy declares that he will not become a player at all if he is not given a general contract. The boy turns his back to the agency staff and explains that he simply does not like being in the spotlight. The boy recalls past stresses, like fleeing a clothing store when a clerk approached, or avoiding a restaurant because the owner remembered him as a regular. The narrator describes him as an extreme introvert who finds tower climbing fun but feels uncertain and lacks confidence in his own future. A sudden, soft exhale sounds as Jeon Guang-il decides to back off for now and agrees to proceed with the general contract.
A sudden, firm shake sounds as they finalize the agreement. The boy thinks that while elite contracts have great benefits, the responsibilities are far too heavy. As the agents leave the apartment, the boy thinks about how elite teams are forced to climb the most dangerous upper floors without any choice. The boy watches them go while thinking he is happy to pass on that pressure and just live a more comfortable life than he had before. The scene shifts to the exterior of the Seoul Awakened Management Agency building in Hanamdong. Inside the office, a bald director tells the team leader that his report of a timid player with no will to climb was completely inaccurate. The man in the suit confirms the boy is the S++ achiever, but admits he cannot understand the player's unusually passive disposition. A sudden, tired sigh sounds as the man describes the boy as a rare type of average citizen who just wants a normal life. The director asks if they could have mistaken him for someone else, but the agents insist the timing was too perfect for any other possibility. A sudden, loud bang sounds as the director slams his desk and orders them to bring the boy into the elite team no matter what it takes.
The man in the suit speaks into his phone, acknowledging the director's orders and promising to recruit the boy for the elite team, while an off-screen voice shouts an absolute refusal.
A sudden, sharp shout sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk screams at the top of his lungs, his face flushed deep red as he claims to be truly angry. Crouched and exhausted, the black-haired boy admits that acting angry is draining and worries that his secrets are exposed. He warns the kneeling John Cossack that another mistake will lead to an immediate dismissal, prompting a frantic apology from the assassin.
A system window announces the entry into floor 12 of the Black Tower, tasking the player with defeating 20 ice icicle spear weasels within a 3-hour time limit.
In a snowy wasteland, Bong Joo-hyuk orders his summon to move gently and slowly. The reddish-brown-haired assassin salutes enthusiastically.
A sudden, sharp snap sounds as John Cossack departs to begin the hunt. The boy watches him, hoping he can trust the assassin's word this time. The boy thinks that if he clears the floors at a normal pace from now on, the management agency will eventually lose interest in him.
A sudden, heavy shiver sounds as the boy's face turns pale and frozen, his teeth chattering as he realizes how cold the floor actually is.
John Cossack looks back in concern as Bong Joo-hyuk trembles in the snow. The boy tries to act tough, but the assassin notices his summoner's worsening complexion.
A sudden, sharp gasp sounds as the assassin panics over his master's health. Ignoring the boy's protests, he vows to finish the hunt instantly to get him to a warm room. A sudden, rapid zoom sounds as John Cossack sprints into the blizzard. The boy shouts for him to take it slow, but the overprotective assassin refuses to listen. A sudden, sharp slash sounds as the assassin's blade cleaves through an icy weasel, shouting that his master might catch a cold. A sudden, wet squelch sounds as the assassin massacres the monsters in a whirlwind of steel. He declares that colds are incurable, and his summoner's life is in grave danger. The boy weeps in despair as a system notice confirms another S++ clear rating for Floor 12 and awards him yet another platinum badge. Back at the agency, Jian Guang-il is shocked to see the record and asks Bong Joo-hyuk over the phone if he cleared the floor. The boy sheepishly admits he did, but claims the next floor will be much harder. A sudden, sharp beep sounds as the boy checks his phone in his warm apartment. John Cossack stands in the background, happy that his master is no longer freezing. Bong Joo-hyuk prepares to release the summon, while the assassin suggests staying to watch some television. A sudden, low hum sounds as the blue energy of the summon begins to dissipate. Tears stream down the boy's face as he scolds the assassin for even thinking about watching television after disobeying his direct orders. The scene shifts to Floor 13. A corridor filled with lethal traps like swinging blades and volleys of arrows. A sudden, heavy grab sounds as John Cossack seizes the boy. He insists there are too many variables and he cannot allow his master to get hurt. A sudden, rapid dash sounds as the assassin carries the boy through the gauntlet of traps at blinding speed. The boy can only scream in terror as they fly past the mechanisms. A system window confirms another S++ clear rating for Floor 13. On Floor 14, the assassin slaughters a swarm of giant eyeball bats to prevent their area attacks from hitting the boy. Bong Joo-hyuk watches with a blank expression, finally resigning himself to the inevitable S++ clear. A sudden, light chime sounds as a bank notification appears, listing the general player support funds and magic crystal sales proceeds. Looking at his phone, the boy realizes he has earned millions of won from his recent climbs, totaling over 7 million won in just 2 weeks. A sudden, wide grin sounds as the boy realizes that at this rate, reaching Floor 20 will make him incredibly wealthy. A sudden, heavy rustle sounds as the boy imagines a rain of currency. He calculates a massive monthly salary with no taxes or fees, thrilled at the prospect of quitting his part-time jobs forever. The next day, John Cossack is summoned back to the apartment. He kneels in shame, thanking the boy for giving him a 5-star rating despite his previous insubordination. Bong Joo-hyuk tells the assassin to just clear Floor 15 comfortably and promises not to tell him to go slow anymore. A sudden, tired sigh sounds as the boy admits the agency has already figured out his talent. He notes that clearing Floor 15 will bring his total to 15 platinum badges. The boy's eyes glint with greed as he thinks about the special privileges granted for accumulating badges. He believes more privileges will make his future much safer. A sudden, bright flash sounds as the duo prepares to enter the tower. Bong Joo-hyuk leads the way while the assassin follows with a salute. Floor 15 tasks the player with defeating 20 goblin workers within a lush forest environment. Peeking from behind a tree, the boy observes that these humanoid monsters have intelligence, making this section of the tower much more troublesome to clear. The assassin whispers that if even one goblin escapes, it will bring reinforcements. The boy agrees and tells him to hide carefully. John Cossack wears a devious smile, promising to take out the entire group of monsters at once. A sudden low hum sounds as the assassin activates a stealth skill, turning into a translucent blue silhouette. The boy watches in awe,
wondering if he can learn the skill later.
A sudden, sharp swish sounds as the invisible assassin decapitates several goblins in an instant.
A sudden, wet splot sounds as the monster's heads fly through the air. A series of system windows announce a successful mission, a level up, and the awarding of a 15th Platinum badge. A sudden, bright flash sounds as the boy and his summon exit the Black Tower, both looking satisfied with their progress. They reappear in the apartment, enveloped in pillars of blue magical energy.
A sudden, sharp ping sounds as the boy opens his holographic inventory window.
Bong Joo-hyuk stands triumphantly as 15 silver and blue platinum badges float in the air around him.
A sudden, loud chime sounds as a massive pillar of light erupts from the floor.
A system notice confirms a special privilege has been granted for his milestone achievement.
The boy recalls receiving trait enhancement and skill copy privileges for his previous milestones, and wonders what incredible reward awaits him now.
A sudden golden sparkle sounds as a glowing metallic ring manifests in the air. The system identifies it as an energy shield kit. A sudden sharp click sounds as the boy slides the ring onto his finger. The item description explains that it creates a barrier to absorb damage, and its power scales with his level. A sudden low hum sounds as the boy activates the shield, manifesting a suit of blue polygonal energy armor. He realizes it is practically a full-body defense system. A sudden joyous laugh sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk glows with blue power. He is ecstatic to find that the shield lacks a tower-only modifier, meaning he can use it for protection in the real world. Bong contemplates the market value of his gold bracelet and whether he should quit tower climbing. Bong asks John Cossack if they can clear floor 16 with an S rank, but the assassin can't guarantee a top score. The black-haired boy looks worried as he asks his summon what he should do next. The assassin, indifferently munching on a snack, asks why the boy is even asking him for advice.
At the agency, a bald director asks his staff how long it has been since the S Global notices stopped appearing.
A female staffer reports that it has been 2 weeks and suggests that Bong Joo-hyuk is stuck on floor 15.
A sudden, loud bang sounds as the director slams his desk, frustrated that such talent belongs to a timid player. Team leader Jaeon Gwang-il notes that the difficulty rises at floor 16, but believes the boy hasn't given up yet. Jeon reacts with surprise to a phone call, announcing that Bong Joo-hyuk is coming to use the player shop. The bald director reacts with intense shock to the news of the boy's unexpected visit. Jeon realizes the boy was likely farming floor 15 to raise funds for equipment, recalling his initial lack of gear. A sudden, sharp crack sounds as director Park Kyung-soo slams his desk again, feeling foolish for doubting the boy's strategy.
The director orders his team to provide the boy with any items he wants at absolute rock-bottom prices upon his arrival.
The scene shifts back to 15 days ago within a dense forest where a blue energy field marks the training grounds. John Cossack reacts with total disbelief and outrage to a shocking request from his master.
Bong lifts his shirt and asks his summon to stab him with a dagger, causing the assassin to tremble in horror.
The panicked assassin begs the boy to just beat him to death instead of making him stab his master. A sudden, loud shout sounds as the assassin covers his eyes and ears, refusing to acknowledge the boy's request. The summon continues to yell that he cannot hear anything while his master expresses his growing frustration. A sudden, wet squelch sounds as the boy stabs himself in the side to the utter horror of his summon. Bong realizes he forgot to turn his shield on while the panicked assassin pours a healing potion over the wound. The assassin demands his master never do that again before being ordered to go finish the current hunt. A sudden, swift whistle sounds as John Cossack zips through the trees, slaughtering monsters at incredible speeds. Bong Joo-hyuk watches from a distance as his summon efficiently finishes the entire hunt in under 10 minutes.
While waiting for his summon to finish, the boy decides to use the time to practice his own skills.
Bong Joo-hyuk concentrates and prepares to activate a skill known as Shadow Step. A sudden, energetic hum sounds as a blue light envelops the boy, signaling the activation of his movement skill. The black-haired boy blurs into motion, leaving a trail of blue energy as he dashes through the woods.
Bong is delighted as he experiences the sensation of incredible speed and agility for the first time.
The boy finally realizes why John Cossack insisted that he prioritize learning this specific skill. Bong zooms through the forest, noting that the ability to move freely is perfect for escaping dangerous situations. A sudden, sharp stop sounds as the boy halts in the bushes, spotting an unexpected presence nearby. A small green goblin crouches in the grass, sweating profusely and appearing terrified of something. Bong Joo-hyuk is surprised to encounter a lone goblin that managed to survive the initial sweep. The boy wonders if the creature was simply hiding in the shadows to avoid being detected by John Cossack. A sudden, shrill scream sounds as the goblin lunges toward the boy with its jaws wide open. Bong flinches as the goblin bites his arm, but his blue energy shield successfully blocks the attack. Disgusted by the creature, the boy delivers a powerful kick that sends the goblin flying backward through the air. A sudden, swift whoosh sounds as a blade cuts through the air, decapitating the goblin mid-flight. John Cossack appears behind the falling corpse, complimenting his master on the perfect setup for his strike. The assassin smiles while his master wonders if he has experience playing soccer based on his timing. A sudden, frantic shout sounds as the summon rushes to the boy's side to check for any injuries. The assassin scolds his master for engaging the goblin, demanding to know what he was thinking by fighting. Cossack lectures the boy about the dangers of being too brave while Bong tries to block out the loud scolding. A narrative text box explains that the boy spent 2 weeks repeating the floor to master his various skills.
The boy reflects on the massive pile of magic crystals he accumulated, valued at over 11 million won.
Back in his room, Bong Joo-hyuk calls team leader John Kwang-il to arrange a visit to the agency's shop.
A sudden, low growl sounds as a long, silver limousine pulls up to the entrance of the player agency.
Bong Joo-hyuk steps out of the luxury vehicle and is immediately greeted by a smiling John Kwang-il. The boy feels awkward under the VIP treatment as the team leader leads him toward the agency building.
A system notification confirms that Bong Joo-hyuk's Wayne information has been successfully registered. John Kwang-il informs the boy he can now use the shop at any time, but Bong Joo-hyuk nervously insists on browsing the luxurious facility alone. A sudden, low hum sounds as the black-haired boy cautiously enters the main hall of the building. Bong Joo-hyuk stands in awe of the incredibly luxurious player-only shop. While passing a display of high-end weaponry, the boy decides to sell his magic crystals before making any purchases.
The clerk informs the boy that his haul is worth over 11 million won, prompting a shocked Bong Joo-hyuk to ask if he can spend the money immediately. Despite the clerk's cheerful well-wishes, Bong Joo-hyuk finds the entire shopping experience to be socially draining. Inside a private office, Director Park Kyung-soo asks about the boy's progress, and the man in the suit confirms they have cleared the shop of other players for him.
John Kwang-il reveals that he instructed the staff to sell items to the boy at a massive 90% discount. The man explains that the boy's timid nature makes him likely to reject free gifts, so they must hide their generosity.
The city skyline glows under a purple and orange sunset. A sudden bright flash sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk gleefully examines a new mace and a pair of sturdy leather boots.
The boy notices the prices are suspiciously low compared to market value and suspects the agency team leader of meddling.
Although he feels burdened by the special treatment, Bong Joo-hyuk cannot help but smile at his high-quality gear. Standing in his apartment, the boy explains that his new energy shield ring allows him to prioritize light, functional footwear over heavy armor.
Bong Joo-hyuk admits that while he tried to avoid being greedy, the benefits of his special privileges are starting to change his mind.
A sudden, sharp snap sounds as John Cossack salutes his master, who orders him to prepare for the ascent to floor 16. The black-haired boy suddenly looks surprised.
A sudden, joyous laugh sounds as the reddish-brown-haired assassin beams with excitement.
A system notification announces that the summoning cooldown is finally over.
Bong Joo-hyuk prays fervently to every deity he can think of, desperately hoping for a powerful new ally as he begins the ritual. A sudden, blinding roar sounds as a massive pillar of purple energy manifests between the boy and his assassin.
Bong Joo-hyuk screams in terror as the sheer size of the manifestation threatens to destroy his apartment and forfeit his security deposit.
A massive, muscular arm covered in intricate tribal tattoos begins to solidify within the magical light. A giant, sandaled foot slams onto the floor as the summon takes physical form.
A sudden, heavy thud sounds as a colossal barbarian warrior appears, his head cracking through the ceiling of the small apartment.
Bong Joo-hyuk recoils in shock, staring up at the terrifying, glowing-eyed giant and questioning if it is even human.
John Cossack suddenly leaps into the air, screaming for the massive idiot to sit down before he ruins everything.
A sudden, sharp crack sounds as the assassin's boots collide with the giant's head in a powerful dropkick.
The assassin relentlessly pummels the giant, accusing him of being a life-ruining burden, while the boy wonders if the two summons already know each other.
The tattooed giant remains unfazed by the assault, calmly stating that the flurry of blows only tickles.
Furiously drawing his daggers, John Cossack threatens to cut off the giant's head and tie it with a pretty ribbon.
A sudden, lethal swish sounds as the assassin dives at the barbarian's throat, but Bong Joo-hyuk desperately screams for them to stop. Tears stream down the boy's face as he mourns his broken home, while a sheepish John Cossack quickly sits and apologizes for his outburst.
The assassin explains that the new summon is notoriously dim-witted, though the giant insists he has memorized the 3 core principles of being a summon.
John Cossack demands a recitation, and the barbarian correctly identifies the first article as absolute obedience to the master. The giant struggles visibly to recall the second rule, stammering about the summoner's personal value taking priority. Calling him a useless dud, the assassin suggests killing the giant to trigger a long cooldown, while the boy is surprised to learn such a rule exists. Looking at his system window, Bong Joo-hyuk feels disappointed to see his new ally is only a rare-grade meat shield with no name. The boy attempts an interview, but the giant cannot remember his name, his past, or even the purpose of the tower. A sudden, static hiss sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk's vision blurs, and he realizes he is being pulled into the summon's memories. The scene shifts to a vast green landscape. A sudden, gentle flutter sounds as the barbarian warrior smiles at a blue butterfly, revealing a pure soul who found joy in nature's simple beauty. The memory shows the Great Plains warrior being surrounded by massive, red-eyed wolves. A sudden, low growl sounds as the giant begins to play with the deadly beasts, demonstrating elite physical power paired with a complete lack of common sense. A blonde-haired man named Arius watches the giant from a distance with a sinister, calculating smirk. Arius introduces himself to the nameless warrior, and the narrator notes that the giant was so dim he couldn't even recall his own name. The memory reveals how Arius tricked the simple-minded barbarian into serving as an expendable shield against a terrifying multi-headed hydra. The giant warrior stands alone against the beast, bravely enduring its deadly breath to protect his supposed comrades. In his final moments, the barbarian tore apart the beast's heads, only to melt away from acid while his treacherous team mocked his sacrifice. Sinister laughter echoes from the shadows. A skeleton dissolves in green acid.
The boy realizes the summons passed.
He ignores the giant's perceived stupidity. Bong Joo-hyuk welcomes his new ally and invites him to climb the tower together. Seeking a name, the boy offers choices like Yaman or Gobang to the giant.
He urges the giant to pick a name, and the barbarian chooses Gobang.
Bong Joo-hyuk promises to make his summon happy, and Gobang pledges absolute obedience.
The boy introduces the trio as teammates, much to the assassin's visible annoyance.
John Cossack decides to train the giant into a proper meat shield before they enter floor 16.
The assassin kicks the giant for copying his mannerisms, while the narrator notes their mismatched personalities. The group enters floor 16 as system windows confirm their stats have been boosted for the mission. Hidden deep in the forest, the team receives orders to activate defenses and prepare for immediate combat.
John Cossack warns that hidden goblins are waiting to strike with deadly poisoned needles.
A blowgun tube targets the boy. A goblin fires a sharp dart. John Cossack catches the lethal projectile mid-air, leaving Bong Joo-hyuk in a state of shock. A sudden, coordinated ambush from dozens of goblins sends the team into a defensive formation. The assassin blocks a barrage of needles while ordering Bong Joo-hyuk to dodge the incoming fire. Peeking from behind a barrier, the boy realizes they are surrounded by over 50 hidden enemies. Bong Joo-hyuk commands Gobang to step forward and use his massive frame to block the enemy. The barbarian's eyes burn with fury. A powerful stomp shakes the ground. Gobang leaps high into the air, causing the goblins below to shriek in confusion and terror. The assassin carves through the goblins. A massive shadow looms over John. The giant crashes into the ground. John Cossack falls from the shockwave. Gobang's sheer size overwhelms the monsters. The boy watches the carnage safely. Goblins fire needles at the giant.
The barbarian stands unfazed, claiming the enemy's best attacks only feel like a slight tickle.
Following orders to kill all, the giant swings his massive arms to clear the entire field.
Bong Joo-hyuk expresses shock that a warrior this powerful is only ranked as a rare grade. He wonders if the giant is only rare rank because of his extremely low intelligence. Golden fried chicken rewards the teen. Bong Joo-hyuk praises Gobang's performance while the giant happily devours his meal. The assassin yells at Gobang for overeating before complaining that the chicken is far too spicy. The giant truly appreciates his master. Gobang pledges his life for the meal, while the assassin kicks him for his constant mispronunciations. The boy scolds the assassin for bullying Gobang while the giant continues eating in the background. The group arrives at floor 17. Bong Joo-hyuk feels a surge of uncontrollable power and strength as he reaches level 17. The boy feels a wild spirit awakening within him, but his summons insist he stays back safely. A massive army of 90 goblin warriors waits for them at the start of the floor. Bong Joo-hyuk admits the actual intimidation of the horde is much worse than seeing it in videos. He reviews the standard strategy of kiting enemies in small groups to avoid being overwhelmed. The boy calls for Gobang, deciding to ignore the tedious, time-consuming strategies used by others. Tedious processes are no longer needed. Bong Joo-hyuk signals the direct assault. A sudden, earth-shaking roar sounds as Gobang unleashes his massive power, while Bong Joo-hyuk realizes that with his new ally's help, he can ascend the tower higher than ever before.
The black-haired boy commands his summon to sweep away their enemies while eagerly anticipating the rewards his next special privilege will bring.
A system notification announces the Floor 17 mission to defeat 30 goblin warriors as a massive army of monsters waits in the distance. The tattooed giant turns toward his master, acknowledging that the summoner has called for his assistance. Bong Joo-hyuk points forward and orders his warrior to sweep all the enemies away. A sudden, thunderous roar sounds as a massive pillar of light erupts from the barbarian warrior as he unleashes his full strength. A sudden, heavy crash sounds as Gobang charges headlong into the goblin horde with unstoppable momentum. A sudden, sharp shriek sounds as a goblin warrior screams in battle, signaling the start of the massive clash. A sudden, low whistle sounds as the giant charges past a row of spears, focused entirely on his objective. A sudden, violent crunch sounds as Gobang's sheer physical force sends the goblin warriors flying through the air. A sudden, metallic clatter sounds as goblin weapons fall to the ground after their owners are decimated by the giant's assault. Standing amidst the carnage, Bong Joo-hyuk is visibly impressed and notes that his new ally's performance is truly insane. A sudden, explosive boom sounds as the boy reflects that complex tactics are useless when an elite tank faces an army of mere bicycles. A system notification confirms that the boy has achieved an S-clear rating for Floor 17 and has been awarded a platinum badge. Bong Joo-hyuk marvels at their success while the reddish-brown-haired assassin stands silently in the background. A sudden, sharp gasp sounds as John Cossack looks on in total shock, shouting the name of his master.
The group arrives at Floor 18, where the mission requires them to defeat 30 goblin assassins hidden within a dark, foggy forest.
Bong Joo-hyuk signals the start of the hunt and orders Gobang to charge into the woods. A system notification warns that the enemies on this floor are monsters that utilize advanced stealth skills. A sudden, surprised yelp sounds as a goblin assassin is caught off guard by the giant's sudden presence.
Gobang looks around in confusion while the boy begins to feel nervous about the hidden threats lurking in the fog.
The barbarian giant swings his arms and mocks the assassins as cowards, while Bong Joo-hyuk wonders if this floor will be more difficult than expected. A sudden, boisterous laugh sounds as a voice echoes through the dark forest. John Cossack strikes a heroic pose and tells his master that he has worked hard watching the brainless giant do all the work until now. The assassin confidently promises to cleanse the boy's eyes with a classy and efficient display of skill. Activating his Shadow Step ability, John Cossack scoffs that the goblin's amateur stealth cannot compare to his own. Moving as a blue blur of lethal speed, the assassin carves through the hidden monsters, quickly raising their kill count to 7. Bong Joo-hyuk watches with wide eyes, completely stunned by the reddish-brown-haired assassin's incredible display of power. The boy realizes that John Cossack is feeling pressured by the giant's performance and has successfully triggered a fierce competitive spirit. A sudden, sharp thwack sounds as the assassin's boot strikes the giant's head, as John yells for the bastard to move out of his way. Looking at his glowing hand and his new mace, Bong Joo-hyuk decides he must continue accumulating powerful abilities as he reaches level 18. The boy prepares to unleash a hidden power of his own, his body beginning to glow with a dark, intense aura. A sudden, mystical hum sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk activates his Wild Stallion Liberation skill. Bong Joo-hyuk's head transforms into that of a majestic horse as he reveals he has thoroughly researched the strategies for Floor 18. The boy explains that the goblin assassin's stealth is low level, and that he can easily detect their movements if he stays focused. Bong Joo-hyuk remains calm and confident, noting that he practiced the shadow step technique enough while repeating earlier floors. Moving with a sudden blue flash, the boy zips through the forest and appears directly behind a terrified goblin assassin. Bong Joo-hyuk suddenly loses his balance mid-attack and screams in panic as he begins to fall. A sudden, heavy thud sounds as the boy's mace crushes a goblin's head despite his clumsy fall, much to the monster's confusion. Standing over his defeated foe, the boy sees a system notification confirming they have reached 10 out of 30 kills. Bong Joo-hyuk celebrates a successful hunt while a hidden goblin lunges at him from the shadows behind his back. John Cossack continues his lethal dance through the forest, slashing multiple enemies as the mission completion counter reaches 25.
A sudden, wet squelch sounds as a goblin head is severed, and the group realizes they only have 3 more enemies to find.
A sudden, heavy whoosh sounds as John Cossack narrowly dodges a massive punch from Gobang.
A sudden, rapid thudding sounds as the giant barbarian unleashes a flurry of massive punches into the surrounding area.
The goblin assassins are completely overwhelmed and splattered by the sheer force of the giant's indiscriminate blows. Bong Joo-hyuk asks Gobang to keep helping, but the annoyed assassin tells the giant to get lost because he is in the way. John Cossack looks around with a confused expression and wonders aloud where his master has disappeared to. A sudden, blinding flash sounds as a massive impact occurs deep within the dark forest.
Utilizing Shadow Step with incredible precision, the boy lunges at another goblin, appearing as a streak of blue light through the trees.
The black-haired boy breathes a sigh of relief, thankful for his energy shield after a dangerous encounter. Bong Joo-hyuk dodges a goblin's dagger in midair, wondering if an adrenaline surge is heightening his senses.
Moving with enhanced perception, the boy sees the goblin's quick slashes as if they were in slow motion.
With a glowing white eye, Bong Joo-hyuk observes the battlefield, feeling as though time itself has slowed down around him.
A massive wave of energy incinerates the enemies as a system notification confirms an S-clear rating for floor 18.
A platinum badge reward appears on screen while John Cossack runs through the forest, calling out to his master. The reddish-brown-haired assassin shouts for Bong Joo-hyuk, while the boy happily notes that he landed the final blow.
John Cossack collapses to his knees in despair, lamenting his situation while Gobang and the boy look on.
A blue-haired news anchor in a suit excitedly reports that a global notice has announced another S-floor clear.
A bald man in a business suit slams his desk in approval, praising the mysterious player's lack of hesitation and preparation.
The bald man expresses pride in Korea's consecutive record setter, but his colleague warns that revealing the player's identity is far too dangerous. The dark-haired man in the suit declares that Bong Joo-hyuk is now a special player who requires more protection than the elite team. A news broadcast featuring a silhouette of the player announces that an unprecedented 18 floors have been cleared with top ratings.
The media reports that both players and citizens are now desperate to learn the identity of the mysterious S-ranker.
Back in the tower, John Cossack lets out a long, dramatic sigh that leaves Bong Joo-hyuk feeling awkward and confused.
The boy asks the assassin to speak his mind, but John only replies that things are moving far too quickly.
The reddish-brown-haired assassin stares intently at his master, noting the terrifying speed at which the boy is realizing his hidden talent. Bong Joo-hyuk points a finger at himself in disbelief, questioning who could possibly have such incredible talent. The black-haired boy laughs off the suggestion, waving his hands dismissively as if the idea of him being talented is just a joke.
John Cossack insists he is serious, recalling the boy's perfect execution of the shadow step technique, which even an expert would struggle to copy.
A sudden, firm grob sounds as the assassin seizes his master's shoulders to emphasize the seriousness of his warning. The assassin warns that as combat becomes fun, the danger rises, and reminds the boy of their promise to prioritize safety and self-preservation. Bong Joo-hyuk nervously agrees to stay safe and promises he will only aim to catch one monster at a time from now on. The black-haired boy smiles awkwardly while the assassin keeps a firm, protective grip on his shoulders. John Cossack closes his eyes and lets out a weary breath, sweating as he accepts his master's promise. The assassin falls to his knees again, crying out that he has a bad feeling that the summoner will eventually cause massive trouble. A sudden, loud wail sounds as John Cossack grips his head, terrified of the chaotic future his master might bring. Gobang sits nearby and scoffs at the assassin's dramatic whining, calling him an idiot for overreacting. A sudden, heavy kick sounds as the assassin strikes the giant in the face, threatening to boil both of his companions alive.
A sudden, chaotic crash sounds as the two summons begin a violent brawl, wrecking the room around them.
A sudden, sharp clatter sounds as a cucumber and a bottle of yogurt are sent flying through the air during the struggle.
Bong Joo-hyuk screams in horror as he watches his refrigerator being caught in the crossfire of his summons fight.
Releasing a surge of blue energy, the furious boy orders his summons to stop destroying his house and go home immediately.
Kneeling over a mess on the floor, the boy mourns the loss of the precious kimchi his mother made for him. Looking up at the sunset sky, Bong Joo-hyuk considers the idea of heading home to visit his family the next day. The next morning, a lone figure climbs the outdoor stairs of a weathered apartment building.
A sudden, metallic click sounds as Bong Joo-hyuk opens the door to his home, announcing his arrival to his family. A sudden, soft tap sounds as Joo-hyuk steps inside, and a voice from within the room warmly welcomes him home.
Inside the home, the boy's mother helps his injured father in a hospital bed, while the father scolds her for nagging their busy son.
Joo-hyuk asks about his father's hip injury, but the older man complains that bones do not heal easily at his age.
Helping his father sit up, Joo-hyuk listens as his mother mentions that his brother, Min-hyuk, has gone out to buy tofu for their stew.
A steaming pot of stew sits at the center of the dining table, ready for the family to share a meal together.
Sitting at the table, the father asks if things have been tough, promising to find work soon, while his wife tells Joo-hyuk to just live his life well.
While eating, the black-haired boy considers testing the waters by mentioning his desire to become an awakened individual.
A sudden, heavy thud sounds as Joo-hyuk's father reacts to the comment, making the boy worry that his remark was far too obvious. The father and brother burst into laughter, joking that Joo-hyuk took after his father, who even needs his wife to kill cockroaches for him.
His mother asks why he isn't working today, forcing Joo-hyuk to lie and claim it is just his day off.
A sudden, nervous cough sounds as Joo-hyuk chokes on his food while his mother looks at him with a suspicious and knowing grin.
The woman closes her eyes and smiles gently, maintaining her supportive and quiet demeanor at the table.
A final speech bubble appears, confirming the mother's unwavering belief in her son, regardless of the secrets he keeps.
The boy warns against loan sharks.
Recalling a gruesome crime scene, Joo-hyuk denies ever borrowing money from dangerous sources. His mother complains about an entitled customer she encountered while working her repair job. The father proudly recounts the story of how he first won over his wife.
A humorous chart explains the family's lineage of timid men.
The boy decides to delay telling his family about his new life as an awakened player.
Joo-hyuk hands his brother an allowance to ensure their parents do not overwork themselves.
The boy turns back when his brother calls out to him. The brother expresses surprise, recalling that Joo-hyuk had already helped pay for his college tuition.
A sudden, soft tap sounds as Joo-hyuk pats his brother's shoulder to dismiss the thanks.
The brother blushes while jokingly asking if he can have his own share of the money.
Joo-hyuk scolds his younger sibling, warning him not to waste the funds on foolish things.
Joo-hyuk stands before the Grand Management Agency.
Feeling renewed determination after visiting his family, the boy prepares to enter the facility. The boy feels awkward when the agency staff greets him with such formal enthusiasm.
Joo-hyuk reflects on the rising danger of higher floors and the increasingly powerful monsters within.
The clerk presents a legendary shield, but the boy is horrified by its astronomical price.
Joo-hyuk feels overwhelmed by the crowded shop and his own difficulties speaking with the female clerk. The clerk suggests a more affordable round shield made of specialized alloys with a self-repair feature. Trying on the new gear, the boy is delighted to find it matches his mace perfectly. A sudden electronic beep sounds as Joo-hyuk's palm confirms the purchase on the digital pad.
The boy jokes that communicating with clerks is more terrifying than battling a horde of goblins.
Exhausted from the social interaction, Jae-yuk looks forward to finally relaxing at home.
A man leaning against a wall asks the boy if he is a newly awakened player.
The stranger reveals that he is also a player as he reaches out.
A sudden, quick slide sounds as the man extends his hand to introduce himself as Choi Hosak. Shaking hands, Hosak is impressed by the boy's progress and shares his own high-level floor experience. Juyuk notes the man's intense extroverted energy as Hosiak offers to help with future climbs. The boy politely declines for now, while Hosak insists he is always available for assistance. Hosak waves goodbye, leaving Jae-hyuk stunned by the man's aggressive social skills.
Night falls over the city apartments. Reviewing his stats, Joo-hyuk sees he has reached level 19 and prepares for the next challenge.
A sudden, heavy thump sounds as a container of dumplings is placed on the table.
John Cossack is summoned and immediately begins a formal salute before realizing he is at home.
Joo-hyuk excitedly shows his summon the new shield he bought for their future battles.
The assassin despairs over the boy's growing interest in combat, despite his promises to stay safe.
John Cossack makes his master promise never to charge into a fight headfirst.
The summon advises the boy to sacrifice his companions to escape if a situation becomes too dangerous.
A sudden, sharp sniffing sounds as the assassin's expression shifts to one of extreme alarm.
John is touched that Joo-hyuk shared food with him first, but his focus remains on a nearby presence.
The assassin happily devours a dumpling while the boy looks on with a questioning gaze. While eating, John asks if anyone holds a grudge against the boy, sensing something wrong. A sudden low creak sounds as the assassin warns that someone outside is radiating killing intent.
The boy freezes in terror as a voice from the hallway asks if anyone is home.
Joo-hyuk orders his summon to hide and activates his energy shield as a blue glow surrounds him.
A sudden metallic clatter sounds as a small spherical object is tossed through the doorway.
Jae-hyuk crouches in fear as the strange device bounces across the floor of his apartment.
Choi Hosak stands in the doorway with a dark grin, holding a suppressed handgun.
The man laughs at Joo-hyuk's surprise, revealing that he painstakingly tailed the boy back home. Aiming his weapon, Hosiak demands the boy surrender his gear and inventory or face immediate death.
Bong Joo-hyuk trembles in terror as a gun is pressed against his forehead, desperately asking why this is happening.
Choi Hosak laughs at the boy's fear while the dark silhouette of an assassin looms directly behind him.
Standing in the kitchen, the intruder screams at his victim, demanding to know if he thinks the situation is a joke. The man gloats about his choice of prey, delighted to see his target already shaking from the mere sight of a weapon.
Hosiak threatens to kill the boy unless he immediately surrenders his inventory, unaware of the assassin prepared to strike from behind.
A sudden, heavy thwack sounds as the assassin strikes the intruder across the back of the head with his weapon. Shocked and dazed, Hosiak realizes too late that there was another person hidden in the room. The intruder collapses to the kitchen floor while the black-haired boy watches in stunned silence.
Bong Joo-hyuk beams with excitement, praising John Cossack for his swift and effective intervention.
Overwhelmed by the narrow escape, the boy wipes away tears of relief while his summon looks on. Looking down at his unconscious attacker, the boy correctly identifies the man as a dangerous item broker.
Bong recalls the agency's warnings about players who target and kill others outside the tower for their equipment.
The boy shudders as he envisions a gruesome scene where he was shot, realizing his summon saved his life.
John Cossack efficiently ties the intruder's hands together with a red ribbon while his master reflects on his incredible luck.
Looking out at the night city, Bong Joo-hyuk decides it is best to involve the authorities immediately.
At the agency, a bald staff member reacts with total disbelief upon learning of the boy's recent shop visit. Team leader John Gwang-el discusses the boy's new gear and regrets not securing him with an elite contract sooner.
The agency staff imagines the boy as a legendary knight in full plate armor, assuming he possesses a powerful melee trait.
A sudden, sharp vibration sounds as Jaeon's phone rings while he schemes of ways to gift the boy better armor. The team leader looks down at his phone to see an urgent incoming call from the player task force. John Kwang-il reacts with pure shock and alarm to the news he receives over the phone.
A sudden, loud screech sounds as a car races through the dark city streets toward the boy's apartment.
Sprinting up the stairs with a look of intense worry, the team leader rushes to reach the scene of the crime. A lone shadow is cast against the concrete steps as someone approaches the apartment door. John Kwang-il grits his teeth in frustration, terrified that something terrible has happened to his most promising prospect. Inside the home, police officers handcuff Choi Ho-sok and place him under emergency arrest for home invasion and robbery.
The intruder shamelessly lies to the officers, claiming he was the victim of a kidnapping by the black-haired boy.
Terrified by the shifting accusations, Bong Joo-hyuk imagines himself dressed in a prison jumpsuit behind bars. A title card appears on the screen, detailing a wimp's guide to surviving a life in prison.
A sudden, loud slam sounds as Jeon Kwang-il kicks the door open and orders the officers to wait.
Ho-seok recognizes the team leader and joyfully calls out to him, hoping to be saved from the arrest.
The intruder smiles with relief as the high-ranking agency official approaches him on the floor.
A sudden, sharp crack sounds as Jeon Kwang-il delivers a devastating strike across the criminal's face.
The team leader announces that the man's registration is revoked for lying and attempting to murder a fellow player.
Jeon looks down at the defeated man with a cold, disgusted gaze as the criminal begs for mercy.
The team leader orders the intruder to be handed over to the National Intelligence Service for interrogation and potential torture.
A sudden, heavy thump sounds as the intruder's head hits the floor, his spirit completely broken by the looming consequences.
John Kwang-il taunts the man, telling him to find a lawyer even though no one would ever take his case.
The team leader warns the officers that the criminal should not be allowed to escape into the tower during transport.
The captured criminal grovels on the floor, promising he will never attempt such a crime again.
Jeon turns his attention to the boy, asking if he is hurt, while Bong notes how terrifying the man's expression is.
The team leader stands tall and prepares to address the boy by his player name.
John Kwang-il bows deeply to the boy, offering a sincere apology for the agency's failure to protect him.
The team leader stares ahead with fierce determination, vowing that they must finalize the elite contract to ensure the boy's safety.
The next morning, Bong Joo-hyuk updates his mini-assassin on the arrest while the city stands bright behind them.
John Cossack wonders about the man's location, but the boy firmly tells him not to seek revenge.
Gobang is summoned and begins counting on his fingers, crying with joy because he has reached a 5-star status.
The group officially enters the 19th floor of the tower with a mission to eliminate 30 goblin shamans.
Bong Joo-hyuk lets out a confident shout, declaring there is nothing to fear as they begin their hunt. The giant barbarian charges headlong into a group of goblin shamans hidden within the dense forest.
Goblin shamans chant as dark energy swirls around their staves.
Gobang takes a deep, focused breath. A sudden, deafening roar sounds as the giant releases a massive shockwave of sound.
Bong Joo-hyuk is amazed to see his summon shatter magic with his voice.
A sudden, swift whistle sounds as John Cossack draws his daggers and dashes.
The two summons agree to clear the floor as quickly as possible.
A sudden, thunderous crash sounds as the pair charges into the dense woods.
The assassin and barbarian decimate the goblin horde with a coordinated, brutal assault.
Determined to help, Bong Joo-hyuk raises his mace and prepares to join.
A system notification announces that the floor mission is already finished.
The black-haired boy stands in stunned silence as his companions walk away.
John Cossack boasts about their speed while his master realizes he was excluded.
The next day, the trio arrives at the entrance of the 20th floor.
John Cossack warns that the upcoming floor is filled with dangerous goblin varieties. The summons urge the boy to stay back while the system displays the mission.
Bong Joo-hyuk feels neglected as the red-haired man rushes ahead into the fray.
John Cossack directs Gobeng to draw the enemy's attention before he makes a move.
A sudden heavy thump sounds as the massive barbarian leaps to attract aggression.
Goblin shamans and scouts with poison needles prepare to defend their territory.
Stealthy goblin assassins and armored warriors emerge from the shadows to attack.
Rejecting his role as a bystander, Bong Joo-hyuk decides to enter the combat.
A sudden, energetic zip sounds as the boy launches himself through the air.
Using the giant's back as a springboard, the boy propels himself forward.
Bong Joo-hyuk soars over the battlefield, leaving his companions behind in his wake.
The black-haired boy beams with excitement as he finally takes the initiative.
A sudden, frantic shout sounds as John Cossack panics over the boy's recklessness.